Hi, I'm Lawrie from LCS 4x4. This is my 40 Series Land Cruiser, and I'm today's Haltech hero. My parents have a photograph of me sitting in my dad's Toyota LANDCRUISER, the same shape as this. When I was maybe 1 week old, Dad had just finished putting a small block Chev into his old work ute, and then that was the car that I used to get driven to school, primary school in, like way back when. I suppose it was forced upon me from a young age, I would say. That old LANDCRUISER was in the family, and maybe midway through high school it had rusted away to a point that back then, where these cars held absolutely no value whatsoever, it just got scrapped. When I got my licence and all my buddies were getting into four-wheel driving, there was sort of no question for me on what car what I wanted to drive and what I wanted to build, and maybe having the old LANDCRUISER on leaf springs and then all my buddies having more modern four-wheel drives that were a bit more comfortable and capable. That's probably what stirred me up into modifying and building cars. As I wanted to sit in the old shape vehicle, but I wanted to be able to keep up or outperform my buddies in their new cars. So I would have to sort of continually modify and improve upon my car to keep up, and then that kind of, I suppose now I do it for a living. I use what I've learned and continue learning on building these cars, and I do it every day. This car we're probably looking to like 12, 13, possibly 14 years ago, and I had some pretty highly modified Toyota LANDCRUISERs, and I was daily driving them. I was working as a carpenter back then, and I was, after a few too many defects, I bought this 80 Series LANDCRUISER for $2,000, and it was the car that I would never modify. It was the car that would just get me to and from work every day. Anyway, this is that car, and it's come a fair way since then. From buying this vehicle, the old Toyota motor gave up the ghost, one too many times. We swapped, we put an LS1 in it. Sometime after that, my buddy, he stacked the car, and so we chopped the wagon into a single cab ute. I was still using it as a work car at the time, and we put various different engines in it. My passion has always been the old sort of 40 Series LANDCRUISER shape, and I've always owned them. And I had an old farm ute sitting there, and we thought, stuff it, let's see, and let's see if we can sort of merge these two of my cars into one. So we canned the old 80 Series body, and we mounted the 45 Series cabin onto the 80 rail. From there, we went to various different engine configs. So we put a turbo, we put a GTX42 on the LS1, and it just continued to snowball to sort of what we have here today. We 3D scanned the 80 Series chassis, and then I just started playing around with suspension configuration and how I can get the thing to move and the axles to articulate. And yeah, this is what we came up with. So this car, I'm running an LS3 engine, which is with a Harrop supercharger on top. That's mated to a turbo 400 transmission. That's manualised. That's then running a Atlas 4-speed transfer case from Advanced Adapters. That's probably one of the key features of the car and how well it performs off-road. We've got the option of disconnecting front or rear drive. So this car on the street, we can just be in high range rear-wheel drive, and drives quite comfortably as a street car would, or any four-wheel drive. Obviously four-wheel drive, and then endless gear ratios for low range. So it's got 4 different gear ratios. That transfer case allows to run this vehicle in either rear-wheel drive or front-wheel drive. So on some of the real steep technical tracks, the ability of putting it into front-wheel drive and then locking up the rear axle, you can shuffle the car quite well around obstacles and and it can make it quite competitive. It's built with intent to race it off-road, but what I'm really getting my kicks out of is just social wheeling with all my buddies and just having fun with my mates. When we were sort of getting towards the end of the conversion and we were looking to power it up, I was chatting with my buddy Mitch from Mackie Elect. We do a lot of projects together, and he convinced me to go down the Haltech route. So on this car, we're running the R5. We've then got the PD16. We've got two of the keypads, linear sensors for the trans, and like sensors throughout. I mean, we had this car set up with the IC7, and then the UC10 came out, and I really couldn't help myself. So I swapped it over, and it's running a UC10 dash. One of the key features of what I find most beneficial to the system that's in it is it makes reasonable power, quite exceptional power for a four-wheel drive. And then if you're in, say, 3-to-1 reduction or 3.8-to-1 reduction in low range, with that kind of power, you breathe on the throttle and you're going to be breaking traction, which can be quite detrimental to the performance of a car like this off-road. What Mitch has programmed in is we've got various different throttle maps that, depending on what terrain I'm driving on and depending what gear ratio I've got the transfer case and the gearbox in, I can pick different throttle maps to really dull down that throttle. You can drive it like a rock crawler, and you get through the technical obstacle, hit the button on the keypad and go back to full 100% response and put the hammer down, which is something that's really caused us dramas in the past with the high horsepower four-wheel drive. I've done a lot of engine conversions in my own cars and my buddies' cars and now customer cars, and there's nothing worse than not just spending the money, but the investment you make in time. And you go and do a big holiday and say you're driving down the beach watching and driving to the gauges. You want to drive to the terrain. You don't want to worry about the gauges. You want to be able to trust that the vehicle is doing everything it should be doing, and you can just drive the wheels off it. And that's what we've achieved with this. It's super efficient at cooling everything. I mean, you do have mechanical failures, for example. We haven't yet, and we try and avoid them. But we also then set up all the warning lights so that you can just focus on driving the car and doing what it's built for. If something does go wrong or something does get hot, you just know that the UC10 is going to flash at me and tell me what's going on. We've done some pretty cool tracks. So coming down the east coast, we stopped in a place called Yarwell, New South Wales. There's a few tracks there, but one in particular, which six stage, which is a pretty drivable track. But we drove it in the pouring rain, and that was my test drive for the vehicle, and it got driven in anger, and it did really well. There's been a fair few other drives since then where we've really pushed it to its limit. I've had it leant over on its roof a couple of times already, which is what it's built for. It's built to be pushed to its limit and continue on. Initially, like, the dream for the car was to build it and go and compete in probably long course events. That sort of changed a bit since I got a young family, 2 young kids. My son just loses his mind to this car. Which it's funny how it changes the perspective and outlook. What I really want to get out of this car now is to do a slight reconfigure in the rear and set it up so I can put the swags and the fridge in the back and go do some decent touring trips, go drive it across the Simpson Desert, or go do a couple of weeks down in Tasmania. Really just take this car around Australia, drive the best tracks and comfortably drive between them as well. I want to use this car to do everything, just have fun with my friends and family. if I could give any advice to the younger generation getting into building custom cars, 4-wheel drives or street cars, I would say if you've got a vision, I'd go for it. Don't be too caught up on what everyone says is right or wrong. If you've got an idea or a car you want to build or a way you want to modify your car, I would say do what makes you happy. Follow your vision. Don't get too caught up in building what everyone says is the way to do it or what's right and wrong. Just jump in the deep end and have fun. Always have fun.